You're listening to Sports Jam, recorded March 12th, 2012, episode 28, A Punch Up the Bracket, but in a good way.
I'm Chad Cetera. Yes, I can name all 5 starters for the Belmont Bruins.
I'm Vince O'Connor. Really? Texas made the NCAA tournament?
And I'm Rob Steele. Man, I thought I was geographically impaired. Have you seen these brackets?
Time to get out the brackets, time to get out the pencils, time to get out the erasers. March Madness is upon us. The NCAA 68-team tournament will begin this week with some great games and some surprising teams in the tournament. Right, Vince?
Yeah, there are definitely some surprises in there. Definitely. Texas is the biggest
Round one.
Yeah.
Round one. 60 teams get a bye.
Yeah, okay. That's sick. I heard that.
I heard that this morning, and I liked it.
It's funny, but Vince, why is Texas? It's a thorn in your side. Why? They beat Temple. They beat Iowa State. They've beaten Kansas State. 3 teams that are in the tournament. Who gets in before Texas?
That's a great question. You know, they're 20-13. I would have never thought that Texas would have made it into this tournament. And I keep going back whenever we talk personally. I keep going back to Drexel and some of these smaller schools. Drexel was 27-6. I understand the RPI is not as high as maybe at Texas, but isn't that the reason why you play? Isn't it the reason why this is, you know, a dream for college basketball teams? You went 27-6 for the year, and you don't get invited to the dance, and somebody who's 20-13 makes it? I don't agree with it. Don't agree with it
There's
at all.
a problem I've had with this all along. Why is there even a show to have when these teams get in? Why? I mean, when they do the weekly top 20 or whatever, 20, 25, whatever they have in USA Today, they don't stop voting at 25. They actually do every college. So it goes to 1 to whoever, 300 something. You want 68 teams. Hey, look, there's a list of the top 68 teams. Why is there a question of whether or not they get in?
Why don't we just do it this way? Why don't we set up a BCS, and why don't we just nominate the 2 teams that are going to play for the national title? Oh, wait, that's right. We have that system, and it sucks.
Well, no, I'm just saying we've got a top 68 poll already. Why aren't we just using that as for who gets in?
Well, obviously, because you have to have these little guys. Like Vince is saying, yes, Drexel deserves at least a sniff at the NCAA tournament. But when you are ranked 244th in the RPI against non-conference schools, what this year's committee said is you have to play somebody worth a darn to actually get into the tournament, which is why Drexel is not there, which is why Washington, who won the Pac-12 regular season title, is not there. When they played nobody outside their pathetic conferences, and honestly, Drexel and Washington, Pac-12, they're pathetic conferences this year. When you play nobody outside of it, and your conference stinks too, you're not going to make it in. You could be Murray State. Murray State probably might not have made it at 30-1 had they lost to Tennessee State in the OVC championship game.
I disagree with you there. They were going to make it no matter what.
Well, probably so, but
I mean, you have a pair of 27-6 teams that didn't even make it. You have Drexel, you have Oral Roberts. You're right. You touched upon Washington that didn't make it. Seton Hall's another one, but as far as I'm concerned, Seton Hall and Texas were in the same boat. To me, that's why I'm surprised that one of them made it and both of them should not have made it.
Okay, so then what about this team? And then I know you and I have talked about this, Connecticut. Why are they there? They're 20-13 also, but they were 8-10 in the Big East. And they're a 9 seed. But because they're the defending national champions? Is that why they have the opportunity?
Well, I mean,
doesn't hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Not only that, our job is not to sit in a room with a bunch of NCAA people and listen to their reasonings why they do this and why they do that. I just would like to be there, a fly on the wall, and listen to some of the reasonings.
I mean, they were there all day on Saturday, all day on Sunday, and if you listen to some of the post-game, or I call it post-game, the post-selection show they were saying, we were watching very intensely the St. Bonaventure Xavier game, and when St. Bonaventure won, somebody dropped off the wall. When they watched the Michigan State-Ohio State game, is one of them going to be a number one? Is one of them not going to be? And then they started talking about Missouri, who in the USA Today coaches poll is ranked third in the nation, but they're a number 2 seed, and what the committee said is they're the 8th best team in the tournament.
Then they should be the 8th best team in the poll.
You would think that would be accurate, but it just doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, that's a math problem, and these are college people. You'd think they'd be able to figure it out. And I wanted to point this out, why are the brackets broken up into geographical categories that don't make sense? My point in this is North Carolina State, an East Coast team, is playing San Diego State, a West Coast team, in the Midwest bracket. We wonder why the kids today can't figure out geography. Look at this. Who the hell came up with that?
I have to agree with you, Rob. My family has moved many a times, and my daughter has no idea geographically where she lives right now. Is it the South? Is it the East, the North, the West? Yeah, it's confusing, but I think what happened is the NCAA went back to naming them the South, the West, the East, the Midwest, where years past they actually named the city that was actually the final city of the regional tournament, which would be Atlanta, Boston, St. Louis, and wherever it is.
That would make more sense.
And yeah,
they're just say, hey, they're playing in the Atlanta tournament because that's where it is this year. I'm sorry, the Atlanta bracket.
Here's another good one for you guys. West Virginia and Gonzaga play a first-round game. Gonzaga is traveling 2,700 miles to this game.
You know where Gonzaga is?
West Virginia is less than 500 miles from home.
I'm sorry, where are they? I keep occasionally thinking I should look up where Gonzaga is because I'm curious, and then I get to my computer and get distracted by like Angry Birds or something.
Spokane, Washington is where Gonzaga.
Really?
Yes.
Of course
they go to Pittsburgh and they play in the Pittsburgh sub-regional. Is that correct?
That's correct, and West Virginia is less than 100 miles from home, and they're a 10 seed. Gonzaga's a 7, so.
Has Gonzaga ever played Akron? Because that would be the Zags versus the Zips, right? I just noticed that the other day. I was watching the Akron game. And they're called the who came up with the Zips? It's probably the same people who came up with San Diego being in the Midwest with North Carolina.
This blurb by Rob has been brought to you by his yin and yang moment of the day. Let's go back to basketball now. And Vince, let's talk about the South Regional, where the Kentucky Wildcats are the number 1 seed. They lost to
Kentucky's in the South.
They are in the South, and they will play the regional in Atlanta. They lost to Vanderbilt in New Orleans,
which is in the South.
SEC championship game.
Now they play Alaska.
In Anchorage?
There you go. Well, actually,
there's another thing. I wanted to point this out too. Why is the Midwest? Is it the Midwest tournament that's playing in Virginia and Atlanta and Albuquerque? Have you noticed? There's one of the conferences is playing in. They're not even in where they say they are. Our own bracket, we're the Midwest bracket, we're playing in San Diego and North Carolina, but those two teams don't get to play at home.
Right,
they
Rob,
get to play in Omaha.
Maybe this one will help you. How many years did the Atlanta Braves play in the National League Western Division?
That made sense.
It made sense.
Historically, because they came from Milwaukee, which was in the West, and they never realigned.
All right, I've been shut up there. Okay.
All
right, so Kentucky has a tough road if you look at it. In my opinion, they're the number 1 overall seed that probably got the short end of the shaft when it came to the way these brackets were broken down. You've got Duke, Baylor, Indiana, Wichita State. You've got Connecticut. You got VCU, last year's Cinderella team. Vince, Kentucky's going to have the toughest road. I have them coming out of it, but I would not be surprised if they get beat in the second round.
Well, that matchup maybe against UConn will be definitely one that I would want to watch. That's for sure. I think in that whole entire region, I think UConn matches up better with Kentucky than anybody else does. And I'm including you got Duke in there, You got Notre
Baylor.
Dame against Xavier. I don't see Wichita State's definitely a sleeper. I would have taken Wichita State in any of my brackets, but not in that
one.
Not in the South. If they were somewhere else, I would have taken them.
I mean, you've got I like Baylor as a team that could really do some damage, and if they can pair up with Kentucky in the Elite Eight, I mean, Baylor is tested. You play Missouri, you play Kansas. I mean, twice during the year. Baylor knows how, and they were preseason Elite Eight, Final Four kind of a team. I mean, and they're
for Baylor to get there, that's a tough road too, because if Baylor gets there, they have to go probably, I'm guessing, through UNLV.
That's going to be a tough one.
They've got a very good team this year, and if they get that far, then they're going to have to take on Duke. Probably, in my eyes, somewhere between a Duke and a Notre Dame winner, and I see Duke coming out of that. But that could be a Baylor-Duke Sweet 16.
I mean, and that would be an interesting matchup. But like I said, the cards fall right. The Wildcats should make it there. I mean, how many NBA players do they have? John Calipari is 32-13 as a head coach and 13 NCAA appearances. He had his best team a couple years back when he was with Memphis. They were undefeated going up against Kansas, and they gave up a three-pointer with seconds to go, forced it into overtime. I think if Calipari and the Wildcats don't win, as Dick Vitale says, the Wildcats should win it this year. If they don't win, it's going to be a big disappointment in Big Blue Nation. I don't have them winning it, but I have them going into the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree with you there. As much as I would like to disagree with you, I do agree with you.
Let's head out west where a Michigan State team is the number one seed, and honestly, I don't know how they're the number one seed and Missouri's the number two. We've had this discussion. It's who you play outside of the conference. But Michigan State's a 1, Missouri's a 2, Marquette's a 3, Louisville's a 4. So you got two Big East teams that are 3 and 4 seeds. You've got the sleeper in Murray State at number 6. Watch out for Florida. You never know what they can do. And your favorite team actually plays Marquette in the first round, and that being the Gales of Iona, 25-7. Are they the Cinderella in this bracket at 14?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. BYU.
And I just told you they would make the tournament. That's what I told you. I didn't say I liked them. I just liked them to make the tournament. Coming out of this bracket, I like Missouri. I think they match up well with Michigan. Have you seen them play?
I have, and they definitely. I mean, they've beaten Kansas, they've beaten Baylor, they've beaten Notre Dame. So, at 30-4, I mean, how can you not think that they're a decent team and not think that they have a chance?
But I don't think there's enough attention being paid to Murray State, to be real honest with you. I think that as a number 6 seed and only lost one game.
They lost to Tennessee State. But who has Murray State beaten? I guess that's where the issue goes. I mean, because now they're going to play against Colorado State in the first round. The Rams are 20-11. The Racers are 30-1. The game is in Louisville. So, yeah, you're going to have Murray State. They're going to bring their whole fan base there. Colorado State.
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah, you're right. But they, to me, if they can get by Colorado State, which they probably should because Colorado State hasn't been there in 9 years, then they'd have to go up against Marquette. This will be their biggest test, their first big conference school that they're going to play against this year. And honestly, Marquette is not going to roll over. And I think that's where Murray State ends. You want us to call them a sleeper, but they're an Ohio Valley Conference team. Sorry. It's just the way it is.
I guess Chad spoke. I guess we have to listen.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you. I don't think that this year's tournament is going to see that surprise team, that Butler team, that VCU team. You've got a lot of Cinderella possibilities, but not Cinderella probabilities, in my opinion. And in this bracket right here, Murray State, they don't match up well against a Marquette. Even if they get by Marquette, I don't see him getting by a Missouri. Maybe, but like you said, you've got Missouri coming out of this thing. I've actually got Marquette coming out of this bracket.
That's going to be a tough matchup if Murray State does beat Colorado State and Marquette wins. That'll be a good game. I'd want to keep an eye on that one and watch that game.
I mean, do we even give Michigan State a chance here? I mean, they're Big Ten champions, and Tom Izzo is a genius when it comes to March basketball.
You have to respect that. And yes, I think they're going to go to the Elite Eight, but I don't think they're going to meet up with a Marquette there. I think it's going to be a Missouri, Michigan State, Elite Eight for the opportunity to go to the Final Four.
That will be a good. I'll say that there's a lot of great matchups, and even going over into the East where there's a possibility of some slobber knocker matchups in the first, second round of this one. I mean, first round you got Kansas State, Southern Mississippi, the 8-9. I mean, that's a great matchup. Winner will get the number 1 seed, Syracuse Orange. Because if UNC Asheville even makes that game close against Syracuse, then I'll buy everybody on the show lunch.
That'll be a 30-point game.
A 3-point game.
That'll be a 30-plus point game that they'll beat them by.
Okay, so I guess I won't have to owe you any kind of lunch. But, I mean, you've got Syracuse.
Tied at 4.
You've got Ohio State in that group. Florida State, the ACC champions. Wisconsin, who's a Big Ten at large. And then you've got the SEC champion, the Vanderbilt Commodores. And then Cincinnati in the Big East. I mean, you see Syracuse getting out of this bracket. I am a homer. I am Syracuse all the way, but this is not a friendly bracket for the Orange, especially when it comes to matchups. If they have to play a Florida State in the Elite Eight, I think they match up good against Ohio State, but even to get to the Elite Eight against Vanderbilt, who can hit the ball on the outside, or Wisconsin, who will beat you 32-31, this is a very competitive bracket here.
I don't think the selection committee did them any favors or rewarded them for being the number 2 overall seed. This is probably going to be the toughest bracket to come out of, and I think you're right. I think Syracuse has their hands full. And I personally see a Florida State-Syracuse Elite Eight here.
That would be definitely a good matchup. Syracuse, they run that 2-3 zone, and Coach Boeheim has the experience with the 30-2 Orange. But like you said, Florida State, they beat Duke and North Carolina twice this year. And the last time that the teams do that in the season, you got Georgia Tech made it to the Elite Eight, and a North Carolina State team back in 1983 did it twice, and I think they upset Houston and won the national title, something like that.
Did they beat Duke and North Carolina within 24 hours? That's what Florida State did. That's quite an accomplishment, and that's just kudos to Leonard Hamilton, the coach there, because he's got a good squad there that's gelling at the right time. And if they go up against Syracuse, I think with Florida State's 3-point shooting, and if they can shoot anywhere between 40 and 50% for a game, they're going to win that game.
I would like to point out that UNC was missing one of their top offensive players, and Duke was missing one of their top defensive players.
Opportunity.
I know. I'm just saying, if they come up again and I don't know, are those players coming back?
Who knows?
I just know they were missing.
When it comes to the big schools like that, you never know if anybody's coming back, and that's the scary part about college basketball. Speaking of scary parts, the Midwest. Yes, North Carolina is in the Midwest. They are number 1 seed, and I am hoping and praying we get the number 1, number 2 matchup in the Elite Eight, North Carolina and Kansas. Boy, would that be fun to watch for a chance to go to the Final Four. Problem is will either one of these teams make it there?
I don't think so. I think this is where you're going to see the majority of your upsets. I would think that Creighton matches up real well with North Carolina, and I think if North Carolina gets by their first game, which you know they will, and Creighton can get by Alabama, I think I got Creighton upsetting North Carolina in that second round.
Wow. That's a big upset, and then you've got my big upset of the tournament is the Bruins of Belmont at 27-7, the Atlantic Sun champions, knocking off the Hoyas of Georgetown. It's a far fetch, and it's tough to believe, but Belmont can knock the 3-pointers down. They've been close so many times to getting past where they need to be. They won a first-round game last year. They lost to Wisconsin in the second round, so I think this is the year Belmont pulls it off. That, to me, leaves leaves the road for Kansas.
I think you're crazy, Chad. You're nuts. There's no way Belmont's going to beat Georgetown.
Okay.
I don't see it happening.
Well,
You're going to get awful specific on me right here and tell me what everybody's name on the starting five that's on Belmont. Tell me what their names are.
Karan Johnson, Ian Clark, Drew Hanlon, Scott Saunders.
Now close the Internet
Nick
Explorer.
Yeah.
All right. Honestly, I do not have the Internet up right now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we believe that one.
Now you don't.
Nah.
Put the newspaper down.
Nah, the newspaper is down. It's laying out.
Okay, now close it.
I'm not going to close it. You got to know who the matchups are. But, yeah, it's wishful thinking that Belmont can win it. I agree with that. But, Michigan, Ohio, that could be one of the upsets. What about Temple versus a South Florida, California game? 5-12 always has an upset. And
I don't think you're going to see it in that bracket, though.
Well, hey, who do you have coming out of this one? I've got Kansas coming out of this bracket, but I mean, you're thinking a lot of upsets, and by the looks of it, I'm guessing you're thinking Temple.
No, I actually like Creighton. I think that Creighton has a very good team, and I think they're going to do some damage. I think they go all the way to at least the Elite Eight.
That'd be awesome for the Blue Jays. I mean, a great season at 28-5, first appearance in the tournament since 2007. So, I mean, you want me to name all their starters too? Okay.
No, you can close that window.
I will not do it. It's March Madness. It's going to be awesome. It always is. It's the best 3 weeks of sports. I know we've got the Super Bowl. I know we've got the World Series. I know we've got...
Yeah, the Super Bowl is not the best 3 weeks. It just takes 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, you're right. And then we got the World Series, which takes sometimes 3 weeks. It feels like it sometimes. You got the NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, but this is the coup de grace. This is what college and all sports are all about. Is March Madness. I don't have my brackets filled out yet. I have not submitted any kind of brackets anywhere online. I know I'm going to be looking at it for the next couple of days and then maybe decide to get into some of these bracket busters. And no, Rob, I am not getting on the Facebook bracket so you can beat me like you did last year.
Number 2, thank you very much. As opposed to Chad, which did not crack the top 10.
Yeah, that was before we started doing the show.
No, that's not the point.
The point is...
The point is I'm the baseball guy, and I still kicked your...
Yeah, because you do all the editing. You can bleep it out if you want.
I still kicked your... So anyway, that's enough basketball, guys. Let's switch gears a little bit.
Let's see how you can do with the speed limit.
Welcome to Sports Jams NASCAR Pool. So where'd you spark your quad car, Dick Trickle?
The defending Cup champion, Tony Stewart, didn't wait until the race for the chase this year to win his first race. Vince Tony Stewart wins Las Vegas and helps 3 people in the pool cash in.
Yes, he did, and won for the very first time. Karen's been in this pool for a couple years now and has not won any single weekly monies, and this week she hit for the very first time. So congratulations to Karen. Also, Rocco hit, and our leader, Edwin, also has the winner this week.
Yeah, Edwin is blistering the pack. What's he doing? I mean, what's he averaging, like 1,000 points a week or something?
I don't think it's going to last. He's using all of his good drivers early.
Come on, you sound like Dave right now, using all your good drivers early. Didn't we talk about this last week with Steven, who wasted Carl Edwards, and now he's wasted Kyle Busch? I mean, really? He's using all his good drivers early, or is he just lucky early?
No, he's made a couple nice choices, so I don't... Luck, yeah, there's always luck involved in it when you're racing at Daytona, but, other than that, he's made a couple nice choices, so...
I'd have to say he has, and now we move to Thunder Alley, Bristol, Tennessee. To me, the best track in the entire circuit. It's a Sunday afternoon race. I mean, come on. The half-mile track, anybody can win it, but there are 16 of the pollsters that think Kyle Busch is going to win it.
Yeah, there's a lot on that bandwagon this week, and rightfully so. He's won like 4 out of the last 6 races, I believe, at Bristol. It's basically his track. He runs real well. He won last March there, but Brad Keselowski won the August race. But Kyle Busch, he knows his track. He runs it real well.
I mean,
he's got
he sounds like his brother.
5 wins there. He's got 5 wins.
His brother dominated in the early part of 2000 when he was driving for Sharpie. I don't think Kurt Busch is feeling it this year. But, I mean, anybody can win it. I know Jeff Gordon used to run this track well. Mark Martin is always in the top 5 when you look at him in this track. I personally think Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to win this week. Not because I have him or anything. Well, yeah, I have him because he needs to end his streak this week for me. So I can...
the curse.
See.
He'll never win.
Well, he's got 1 win at Bristol, so...
That means he'll have 1 wheel by the time he finishes this race. Chad picked him. Nope, never going to win.
He's not going to hit a dryer.
Well, Chad and a few other guys took him too this week. Actually, one other guy took him this week. That was Aaron. So he races well there. There's no doubt about it. He races well there. He didn't race particularly well there last year, but his average finish there is like 12th. But last year, he didn't do too well. So hopefully he'll turn it around and he'll get back on track. And you know what? I'm a Junior fan, so I hope he does end the streak this week. And I hope you do win, Chad, because that would be nice for him.
I mean, I'm thinking a 4:15 email sent to the entire group. Oh, wait, no, that would be Steven's move. And MPH not feeling it after his crash, flat tire with, 10 laps to go, Kyle Busch. He and a couple others had him, but nobody as bad as our boy Cleveland, who will be in Bristol this week, who had Kurt Busch. Whew! He fell to the toilets this week.
He tumbled, yeah, he did. He dropped 16 spots. He's down to 32nd place right now. And Karen, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. She jumped up 16 spots, and now she's up to 15th place. So it's almost like they switched spots.
They had a plan.
She had the winner, and he had Kurt Busch, which was, 9 points he got?
Yeah, he was like the loser. I think Kurt Busch has a week with 5 points and now a week with 9 points. So, I worry that mid-season with me taking Kurt Busch some point this year that I'm going to be suffering for that one too.
Well, like we've said before, it's a long year. We're in March. We're running through November, so it's a long year.
Yes, there's time.
There is definitely time to make it up.
And to think, I thought he was saying there's time, meaning that's the end of the segment, and it's time to go into something different, like, I don't know, close out the show.
Sports Jam will be back next week with another knockout episode. But until then,
follow us on Twitter at TR Sports Jam, friend us on Facebook, or email us at therealsportsjam@gmail.com.
Thank you to our sponsor, the Danny Nagy Band. Until next week, Sports Jam, we're out.